guys. Welcome to Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. I noticed on my last few videos that I've put up, which are kind of the usual things I talk about, women misbehaving and relationship issues, I notice they're not getting as many views as usual. So either YouTube's maybe changed a little bit of the algorithm, or I think a lot of you that have been around at least for the last, 5 years that I've been doing this, kind of hit the point where they're like, yep, we get it. Tired of hearing about women. I'm going to be very careful in my relationships or avoid them completely. So rather than start a brand new channel and kind of diversify that way, I'm going to just start integrating kind of some regular news stories that I think will affect you, whether you're a dude, whether you're a woman, whoever, that'll affect you to where you say, hey, I should probably be paying attention a little bit to this. That doesn't mean I'm going to be doing world news or other events. I'll try to stay out of politics. But I do want to talk about things like this, that, so many businesses have turned to the inclusivity and the DEI directives and all the things to be inclusive and representing people because of their skin color, not their skill set. You're seeing a lot of companies really struggle. And while some companies like Disney or Bud Light or whatever may just make you mad and you decide not to buy their purchases anymore, now it's getting to the point where airlines are and especially Boeing and all their aircraft, 747, 737, 777s, these planes are having some issues, and a lot in just the last short period of time. So I do want to talk about that a little bit. From Boeing's own website, they have and I don't know, this is from, Boeing.com, and it's literally a DEI page for inclusivity. They say each member of our global team brings something uniquely valuable to Boeing. They're recognizing women, they're recognizing diversity inclusion, and they've got reports on it. And their aspirations and progress, they're saying they increased the black representation rate in the U.S. by 20%. I have no problems with that, except if you're doing it to the detriment of quality and of not picking the best person for the role, instead saying, well, they're 80% or 70% as good as some of our applicants, but they do have black skin. So we're going to hire them and get them on board so we meet this DEI. And if I've said this a million times, if it is a black LDHD TV man that used to be a woman and they're all the things, but they're the very best at the job, go ahead and hire them. Like, that's probably a good hire. But if you're looking for other things other than your skill at a job, especially when it comes to safety and flying and efficiency and making good money for your shareholders as well, that is part of it, then this is what you're going to run into. They say achieve parity in retention rates of all groups. So everybody's equal. Welcome to socialism. Close representation gaps for historically underrepresented groups. What does that mean? All the things. Eliminate significant differences between the experiences of teammates from different backgrounds. Advance common understanding, shared experience, mutual respect. Report diversity metrics and progress annually. And that's the important part. They're reporting on diversity metrics, not safety standards, not all the other things that are kind of important. And here they show a photo, of course, all the things, all the important things that are so important to them. That right there is obviously a dude dressed like a woman, and this is a woman. Well, and this came out, I don't know, when did they publish that? They may not have a publishing date on there because it's just a web page. But Boeing reinstalled a panel that later blew out of the 737 MAX jet. So now this is going back, I pulled up all these articles and come to find out there's other news agencies now that are reporting on this. Their stories came out the same day I was actually planning to speak on this, which was a couple days ago. But new stuff kept coming out, and I said, well, I'll keep this up to date. This is just from January, so just a couple months ago. And they say nearly 3 weeks after a hole blew open on a Boeing 737 MAX 9 during an Alaska Airlines flight, terrifying passengers, new details about the jet's production are intensifying scrutiny of Boeing's quality control. About a month before the MAX 9 was delivered, workers at Boeing's factory in Renton, Washington, opened and later reinstalled the very panel that would blow off the plane's body. Now, I'm not going to go down through the thing, but they noticed that it needed work done to its rivets. They did the work, and then right after that is when the panel blew out. That says something about the people doing the work on the planes. When you say, we built this plane and it's been in service 7 years and a panel blew out, you can look right back at the people that are inspecting the plane or doing maintenance on the plane and saying, hey, what's going on with this? But when you have a panel and you take it out and replace it, and a week later it blows out, that is directly responsible for the quality control and the people that did the work on the plane a week before. And that's what we're seeing with this stuff. This just happened as well. This is from, from March 11th. They say United Airlines, this is from Nick Sortor. He's an on-scene covering stories MSM won't. He's been on Fox, Newsmax, and Timcast IRL. I didn't know that. He says United Airlines Boeing 777 takes off with major fuel leak. This is happening way too frequently, and they show here the dump. Well, come to find out that wasn't a fuel leak. So you say, oh, okay, well, problem solved? No. What actually happened was it was hydraulic fluid spraying out of the gear as they brought the gear up, as the darn thing took off. Now, if you lose enough hydraulic fluid, you lose hydraulic pressure. One wheel doesn't come, or one batch of wheels like you see on this plane. It looks like they've got multiple sets of wheels on it. You fool around and the hydraulic fluid doesn't work, and yeah, it may go up because it just sprung the leak as you see the gear going up into it. But when it's time to land several hours later, that pressure spraying out that hydraulic fluid, you may go to put the wheel down, and this is a 777. This is a big boy. That wheel doesn't come down on the right-hand side. You're looking at dragging the engine. If it wears through the engine as it lands, it hits the fuel tanks that are up in the wings, and bada boom, not so good. This is from March 8th. See the moment United Airlines Boeing 777 loses a tire just after takeoff. This is the picture I used for my thumbnail there. A car was crushed when a tire from a Boeing 777 came off during takeoff on Thursday. The United Airlines jet was departing San Francisco International Airport for Osaka, Japan, when the incident occurred. One nearby plane spotter caught the moment on video, while local reporter found the smashed-up car. Let me pull this down just a little bit. Not much to hear other than the tower. And right after takeoff, boom, there goes the tire right off the back end. And it landed down in a parking lot. That could have killed somebody. Here's the car smushed by the United wheel at SFO. You can see the rubber smudge and the circular imprint of the tire. That thing was hauling, man, and it completely crushed a car. Moving on, because there are so many of these, I'll close them as I go. And this is from 14 hours ago, American Airlines flight makes emergency landing at LAX due to mechanical issue. And American Airlines, wait for it, Boeing 777 forced to make an emergency landing at LAX. Another one, a Boeing 737, Alaska Airlines flight carrying pets lands at an airport with cargo door open, adding to safety concerns. So now I think they're being sued because the pets were at risk of freezing. I don't know about you, but if I put my boy Walker here on an airplane and somebody screwed up a door, it came unlatched or something, and he froze to death, I'd go bananas. I'd go crazy. This from March 12th, is it? I think. Here's the March 12th. They found 97 instances of noncompliance in Boeing's 737 MAX program. Here's a video of a plane that was, I think, in Hawaii, that you can see fire sputtering from the plane itself, from one of the engines. It had to turn around, make an emergency landing. And I don't know if this is what somebody took as the video while they're on the plane, but can you imagine taking off, looking over, and you're like, this says mid-flight, but I don't know about you, but if I see that, it's game over. Oh, no, this is actually a different story. I take that back. This says video from a previous Boeing. So maybe this is the same instance, because this does look like it's coming from the left side of the plane, and this obviously is the left side of the engine. So maybe it's the same instance. And so from the New York Post, Boeing, FAA audit of Boeing 737 production found mechanics using hotel card and dish soap as makeshift tools. Boeing whistle. Oh, I'll get to the Boeing whistleblower part. But there, so you got 777s, 737s. These are big planes with lots of passengers. Now they're using dish soap and hotel cards as makeshift tools. Now, I can't necessarily put that on the diversity hires, but that does say that quality control and something going on at Boeing is really falling off a cliff. From MSN, Boeing failed 33 out of 89 audits during FAA examination. This is the report. This is from 2 days ago. Federal audit of plane manufacturer Boeing found over 30 failures in the company's operations. The investigation launched earlier this year following an incident in which an air panel blew off an Alaskan Airlines plane mid-flight. It was conducted by the FAA. Boeing failed 33 aspects of the audit with a total of 97 points of noncompliance, according to the New York Times. The company passed 56 points of the audit. So they failed 97. No, I'm sorry. They failed 33 of the 97 and passed 56. That's only 89. I wonder what the other 8 points were. The paper cited in an internal slide presentation produced by the FAA and provided to the outlet. Spirit Aerosystems, which produces parts for the Boeing 737 MAX planes, fuselage, was also audited and failed 7 of 13 audit points. So the Spirit Aerosystems that's giving up. What's going on with Spirit Aerosystems? And let me just do this. I'm going to pause the video real quick. I want to do a search on something real quick. Well, color me shocked. Spirit Aerosystems. Spirit Aerosystems' commitment to global diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're dedicated to creating a world-class economy, blah, 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 different perspectives and all the things. Diversity recognizes Spirit. And they're a Diversity, Inc. top regional company. So they're so good. They're so good that they're a top company in diversity. I'm telling you this. I think this all has something to do with what's going on. Now, some have said the new CEO that's coming in or has been in for the last couple of years is trying to provide maximum returns for shareholders. And so he's cutting corners. Maybe that's the case. And let's say, you know what? Hey, the diversity really has nothing to do with this. It's just the CEO cutting corners. Okay, then the point still stands. Flying is no longer safe to fly, or it's no longer safe to fly. And if you're putting any energy, if you're putting manpower, if you're putting money into departments that are worried about being diverse and all the other things, that's money that you're saving that could be put into, I don't know, parts, good mechanics, good systems, quality control. But instead, they're spending money on, people of all of the rainbow colors are getting involved. This is I have two more articles here I'll read. This is from CNN, and this came out on the 12th, the day that I was going to do my actual video. Boeing is in big trouble. They say you'd think Boeing's already miserable 2024 couldn't get any worse, but on Monday, a 787 Dreamliner plunged suddenly mid-flight, injuring dozens of passengers after a pilot said he temporarily lost control of the aircraft. That's not even a story that I did, in the last 5 minutes telling you all the other problems they're having. These are dozens of problems in just, a month or so. The pilot was able to recover and land the plane safely, but it's not yet clear what caused the LATAM flight from Australia to New Zealand to fail so dramatically. Now, Australia to New Zealand that's a puddle jump. That's a 30-minute flight, if that, very, very short. LATAM called it a technical event. Boeing said it's working to gather more information, but it's not news Boeing's management or the flying public needed right now. The company's nonstop streak of bad news began the first weekend of the year when part of an Alaskan Airlines 737 blew off. We talked about that. The incident resulted in a temporary nationwide grounding of certain 737 MAX jets, followed by congressional hearings, production and delivery delays, multiple federal investigations, including a criminal probe, and a stock that has lost a quarter of its value this year, shaving more than $40 billion off the company's market evaluation. Between lawsuits, potential fines, and lost business, Boeing could lose billions more dollars from the blowout. But the bad news doesn't stop there. In February, pilots on a United Airlines 737 MAX reported that the flight controls jammed as the plane landed in Newark. The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating. 2 weeks ago, the Federal Aviation Administration flagged safety issues with the de-icing equipment on a 737 MAX and a 787 Dreamliner models that could cause engines to lose thrust. The FAA is allowing planes that continue flying in Boeing. The FAA is allowing the planes to continue flying. And Boeing said the problem does not pose an immediate safety risk. I don't know about you, but flight controls jamming up and a pilot losing control of a plane, and you can see somebody's here's got some cuts and bruises all up and down their arm from flying around the cabin. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pretty serious safety risk to me. And I think the FAA is not grounding them, and they're not putting a halt to this because they're afraid of the airline industry collapse. I mean, if you think about it, right now, I would not get on a plane. I do not have a fear of flying. I've flown all over the world. I took a plane from, let's see, where was I? I think it was in Philadelphia. It might have been D.C. I flew from there to Iceland. In Iceland, I took a little puddle hopper over to Norway. I've flown to Egypt. I've flown to Thailand and Southeast Asia and Australia and New Zealand. And I flew all the way home. I've flown to Peru. And I flew home from Peru all the way to Dallas. That was a long flight, let me tell you. When you go to sleep and get 8 hours of sleep and you wake up and you're still on a plane and then it's time to nap again before you land, it's like a 19-hour flight or something ridiculous. And it was nonstop. I'm not afraid of flying. Right now, today, to get me in an airplane, I would say no. And that's just me being honest. When so much is going wrong so quickly, and it's not just the physical exterior, engines and fuel and oil or hydraulic fluid and panels blowing off the door, but wheels and flight controls losing control of the plane or having things locking up when you're trying to land. There's going to be something really bad happen this week or next week or this month or whatever. It's going to be one of those catastrophic failures. Because when little things like this happen, they don't always just go away for no reason. And if the FAA says, well, we don't want the flight or airline industry to collapse, we'll just go ahead and say everything's fine. There's no safety risk, nothing to see here, people. Sorry, but not sorry. I trust the FAA as much as I do the rest of the government, which is zero. They said then last week, Boeing got more bad news. The NTSB said Boeing has not yet provided the company's records documenting the steps taken on the assembly line for the door plug replacement on the Alaska Airlines jet. Boeing's reason, those records don't actually exist. And the FAA said Boeing's safety and quality problems extend beyond its inability to produce paperwork. Reviewing Boeing's production workflow and standards, FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker says Monday that the regulators found issues with really important aspects of Boeing's manufacturing and assembly line. It wasn't just paperwork issues, Whitaker said at the news conference. Sometimes it's the order that the work is done. Sometimes it's tool management. It sounds kind of pedestrian, but it's really important in a factory that you have a way of tracking your tools effectively so that you have the right tool and that you know you haven't left it behind. Boeing said it's working on several of the issues Whitaker identified. The FAA has instructed the plane maker to submit a plan to fix its production problems by late May. Based on the FAA audit, our quality standard downs, and the recent expert panel report, we continue to implement immediate changes and develop a comprehensive action plan to strengthen safety and quality and build confidence for our customers and their passengers, Boeing said in a statement. We're squarely focused on taking significant demonstrated action with transparency at every turn. Except you're not. Because when they asked about the records for the repair on the door that blew out on the Alaska airliner, they said, yeah, well, that doesn't actually exist. We don't have that paperwork. And when they're talking about not finding tools and they're struggling on the simple basic things, I don't know that a CEO coming in would make that big of a change. But I can tell you what would. Hiring somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, hiring somebody because they're a woman, hiring somebody because, I don't know, they're LDHD TV or their skin color or something or other, and not hiring competent people that care about what they do. And we know in many instances, at least when it comes to government agencies and many of these businesses, to get an improved DEI score, that Spira Aerosystems, as you can see here, has won awards for Diversity Inc. 2022 top regional companies. They say top regional companies are those that have 10% or more of their employees located in 2 or less of the U.S. Census geographic regions. When they're focusing on this kind of stuff, and they're not focusing on the quality and the people that they're hiring, it's not even necessarily that maybe the people are that bad, but it's the company is focusing on the wrong things. You can only juggle so many balls at once. And it appears that they've set down quality and quality management to worry about, maybe it is worrying about how much money they give to their shareholders and cutting corners. Either way, it is not necessarily safe to fly by, in my opinion. Boeing stock, which fell 30% Monday, and the news about the terrifying LATAM flight is down another 4.5% Tuesday. It's the second worst performer in the S&P 500, behind only Tesla. But Boeing's awful start to 2024 is about much more than its stock price. The company came into the year with an already bruised reputation. Restoring the confidence of airlines, regulators, and passengers becomes more difficult with every new incident and bad headline. I don't know if it was Boeing, but I think it was the Boeing 777 or the Dreamliner, where the new software they were installing, they shipped it out to India to be kind of like subleased or worked on by a software company in India instead of the normal engineers here at home, and they did that for cost cutting. If I'm correct, that was Boeing. I'm not 100% sure. But companies, like I said before, some companies, if they skimp out on certain things, it doesn't matter. If Boeing does, bad times, and if you have fear of flying already, this is not going to help you. Well, there was a whistleblower named John Barnett who came forward, and he was going to talk. I think it was in front of Congress. I'm sure they'll say in the article here. He came forward and spoke about some of the quality controls. He'd been with them for, 20, 30 years. He came forward and what do you know? He's found unalived. He's no longer with us. From NPR, Boeing whistleblower John Barnett, who raised alarm over the plane's quality, is found not with us anymore. Police in Charleston, South Carolina, are investigating the ending of John Barnett, a former Boeing quality control manager who became a whistleblower when he went public with his concerns about serious safety issues in the company's commercial airlines. If you guys hear white noise on the mic, it's because my window is open and there's a beautiful breeze here today in sunny Tennessee. Barnett's body was found inside of a vehicle at the Holiday Inn parking lot in Charleston on Saturday, police said. One day earlier, he testified in a deposition related to the string of problems he says he identified at Boeing's plant, where he once helped inspect the 787 Dreamliner aircraft before delivery to customers. Barnett was in the middle of giving deposition testimony in his whistleblower retaliation case against Boeing when he ended himself, supposedly. His lawyers, Robert and Brian, told NPR. He was in very good spirits and really looking forward to putting this phase of his life behind him and moving on, the South Carolina-based attorney said in a joint statement. We didn't see any indication he would take his own life. No one can believe it. Police said officers were sent to the hotel to conduct a welfare check after people were unable to contact him when he traveled to Charleston to testify in his lawsuit against Boeing. Upon their arrival, officers discovered a man inside a vehicle suffering from a hole through his head. Police said in a statement sent to NPR he was pronounced deceased at the scene. The office of Charleston County Coroner, Bobby Joe O'Neill, said that Barnett, who had been living in his home state of Louisiana after retiring from Boeing, seemed to pass from what appears to be a self-inflicted wound from a hole puncher. Charleston police said detectives are actively investigating the case and are awaiting, et cetera, et cetera. So he worked for him decades, and he went up and ended himself. I'm just slowly scrolling through here and seeing if he had family. Right here. Barnett filed a whistleblower complaint against Boeing in early 2017. His case against the company was heading towards a trial this June. His family said he was looking forward to having his day in court, said his brother. Here's the thing. Okay, maybe they dust and for prints and there's nothing there, and it doesn't take a stealthy assassin in the middle of the night to track a man and then stage something like this. What it could be is someone finding him, because you don't want to do it on the phone because there'd be phone records. Someone finding him in person and saying, hey, you see this photo of your wife? You see how she's standing in her bedroom? We have access to her. You see this photo of your kids? Here's your kid in Montana and here's your other kid in New England. See that photo right there of your sister-in-law or your beloved? If you go through with this, they're going to disappear from the face of the earth. They're no longer going to be here with us. So maybe it's time for you to shut this down. And since all of a sudden, if you mysteriously change your mind on this after saying how excited you are to talk about it, there's going to be questions. And so here's your choice. You can take this, hole puncher, or maybe he has one, and you can do yourself in, or we're going to do the 11 people of your family. We're going to do them in. It's either you or them at this point. Who knows? But you don't go from having a family, being excited to close this chapter of your life and talking about these things and getting it officially on the record to just randomly putting a hole in your head. And my problem with a lot of this stuff is that once that's happened, and they say, oh, we're looking into it. Well, we didn't find any fingerprints or anything like that. Well, did you get a court order to go through his phone? Or is it one of those things where involved interests say, why don't we just let this one go? It really makes you wonder. I'm not saying that's what happened. But when you look at, sometimes the most obvious thing is the thing. And when a guy's filed suit back 7 years ago and he's finally getting ready to testify and everything is going to come to a close and he's really going to put the thumbnails into a business that is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And let's be honest, if Boeing goes down and where they don't manufacture planes anymore, our government has issues. Because then it turns out maybe there's more news stories about the DEI at Boeing. Maybe there's more things where people don't trust flying anymore, and it causes problems with shipping and other things. And maybe the government is the one that came in and said, hey, we need the airlines to keep functioning, and you keep screwing with this, and you're going to hurt the entire airline industry, so you better shut up. I don't know. But to say the government would never do something like that, I don't think there's many of us that can claim that. I think there's a lot of us that know that's right up this government's playbook. Guys, if you like my work, I appreciate you being here. I'll do a couple stories like this, see if you guys see the number of views on it. That's what always denotes if I keep doing things. Lots of views. Okay, you guys like it, I'll keep doing it. Few views. Not so many of you like it, and I won't do as much of that stuff. So if you like this work, make sure to share it around. I do talk about topics like this over on betterbachelor.locals.com a lot more. Great group of guys over there, so I hope you come join us over there today. And as a supporter, it's $5 a month, so I'd appreciate that as well. And we will see you in the next one.